ShinRobjira.
Today we're going to be talking about the Figma Metroid Prime 3 Corruption Samus Aran figure. Samus Aran, however you want to say it. Today we're going to be talking about my favorite video game lead in my favorite video game franchise of all time, Samus from Metroid. From the title, as I said before, Metroid Prime 3 Corruption for the Nintendo Wii. One of the games on the Wii that actually had controls that worked for the most part, and for this game, yes, the controls did work rather beautifully. You felt like you were aiming an arm cannon, and Nintendo missed out on an opportunity to make an arm cannon that fit a Wii remote in it, because it would have been beautiful. It would have been perfect, I say. But anyway, for those who don't know, I love Metroid. It's my favorite video gaming franchise of all time. It's one of my favorite franchises in media to begin with, and my adventure with the Metroid franchise started in 2002 with the release of the original Metroid Prime on the Nintendo GameCube. This game changed my life for the better, honestly. It helped me fall in love with a very intense and beautiful atmosphere. Made me fall in love with getting lost in games that were designed for you to get lost in them. And it just completely rewrote how I experienced games and how I fell in love with games in general. That and the Metroid Prime trilogy is easily 3 of my favorite games of all time. Even Metroid Prime 2, which for a very long time I didn't like too much, and now I genuinely see where people are coming from when they say that they like the game so much. Yes, it's definitely a departure from Metroid Prime 1's perfections, but holy hell, re-experiencing this game was amazing. But then again, that was 2 years ago. I'm kind of holding out hope for Prime Trilogy HD on the Switch, if that'll ever be a thing or ever be announced. I don't know. Anyway, let's take a look at this figure, shall we? The Figma Prime 3 Samus is truly one beautiful piece of work, and I tell you something, because oh boy, look at these pictures. This figure did not start out looking this good. It was a thing. Me, I was hyped when they first showed this off in 2012, 13, 14, maybe, I don't remember. But dear God, it was pretty bad. So the fact that we went from that to this, oh my God. Figma absolutely know how to fix their issues. SH Monster Arts joke here. But anyway, yet another SH Monster Arts joke, because this figure comes with some accessories, and we're going to take a look at all of them now. First up for accessories is the alternate tip to Samus Aran's arm cannon. So basically, for those of you who didn't know, back in the day when video games weren't as technologically advanced as they are today, you had to showcase when Samus was going into missile mode. And in the original Metroid, she just changed color. Like her visor and certain markings on her suit lit up. And then I believe in Metroid 2 onward, you would see the top of her arm cannon change shape, and this is essentially what it would look like. We'll take a closer look at this in a second. We also get a thumbs up hand. Thumbs up for the thumbs up. A sprawled out hand. A relaxed hand. Look at it. Isn't it relaxing? An articulated stand with a peg extension. And Samus in her morph ball form, which this time around isn't a solid piece of plastic vinyl, whatever the heck it was made out of with the other M variant. Oh yeah, we'll be talking about that too. And one of the other cool new features for the morph ball is you hook it up to the stand like so, and it spins. And it spins. It's not very useful, but it's nice. But then again, I guess for those who do stop motions, this would certainly be useful. And yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to accessories. Just some hands, an alternate firing mode, a stand, and a morph ball. No beams this time around. And just because I said I would, look at all the amazing detail on this thing, man. The wiring, the lines, the inside of the arm cannon. It's all so very beautifully detailed. As are these hands, and look at that translucent plastic. Yes. No painted on goopy goops this time. That's not to say what was present on the other M version was bad, but this just looks so much better. Look at how they catch the light. Very, very nice work there, Figma. Now, before we implement any of the accessories, let's see what the figure in and of itself can do. So up for... Oh my God. Okay, I'll relax. Gonna have a ball joint at the neck and at the head. You're gonna get a wide range of movement with Samus's head this time around. The other M version was a little bit more restrictive, but given the design and everything, I think it was mainly meant to be like that. I don't think they could really work around that too much. And a nice little feature of the head is you can push it in like so, getting rid of Samus's neck, and you could kind of pull it out like so. I don't know if that's actually like a main feature there, but there you go. You're going to get a ball joint at the shoulder pad over here. In fact, The ball joint at Samus's arm over here is a three-way ball joint. It'll be up here, it'll be connected to the inside of the body, and it'll be connected to the top of the shoulder pad on the inside over here, as you can see. So you can really get Samus's arm really, really high up, even to the point where it just doesn't look like it should be doing that, which is very, very nice. The only issue I've ever seen of this is that it could scrape off some paint over here, and just that when it comes to getting Samus's arm around her very angular chest over here to, you know, kind of match up with the arm cannon right over here, it is a little bit more on the restrictive side, and that is something that they really, should work on if they ever make another one. But yes, you will have all the technicalities of a ball joint over here, just 3 at a time, moving back, moving forward, moving up, moving down, and then just repeat that 3 times for all the different areas. Of course, you will have a bend at the elbow over here. I do not believe there is a swivel this time around. No, there is not. And you will have a swivel at the wrist that can bend in and out like so. And of course, since it's one of these, you can spin it and you can have it go side to side, or up and down at your choice. And essentially the same exact thing's going to be going on over here with this arm. You're just not going to have a forearm and a hand to work with. You are just going to be working with Samus Aran's arm cannon, which is just going to have a bend at the elbow and nothing more. Although as you can see right here, this is where you pull. Yet again, lovely detail, metallic paint, and yes, there is a peg hole in here for the other M beams, but we will talk about that in a bit. It's as simple as ripping it off and pushing it back in. Viola, the missile launcher. Moving on to Samus's torso, you have this on a hinge, and this is basically just meant to stay here, so when you're bending Samus back or when you're bending her forward, you're not going to lose the shape of the suit. And you are going to have a wider range of movement at Samus's torso over here because you're going to have a ball joint with a peg at the bottom. The peg obviously going into the bottom of Samus's torso over here. It just smooches back on right there, and there you go. You got Samus with a lot of movement at the torso. Now you look over here and you see a crotch, and you see some legs, you see some rubber right there. It's all well and good. But there's a lot more to this pair of legs than I originally thought I'd be in for. For one thing, yes, legs. But, you can get them out like so, like this, so it will help you get Samus into many different poses. You're actually going to have a hinge over here, which will help with the splits, which Samus really can't do much of, but then again, that's not really important to Samus's character. You're going to get a wide range of movement at Samus's legs over here, all the way around. And I really do want to talk about the rubber bits over here. This was a big issue with my other end copy of Samus. The rubber was really, really weak, and the paint on the rubber, whatever they used, would rub off very easily. Thankfully, my newer copy isn't like that, but I'm so happy that they're just molded in this color from what it seems, and I really don't have any fear of keeping Samus in a pose where her legs are going to be up like so, bending this in or otherwise, because it actually feels like competent rubber that was used, which is very, very nice. And since you saw that the legs can go all the way around, the kick up is very, very high. The bend at the knee is magnificent. There will be a little bit of a swivel at the knee. Beautiful up and down motion at the foot. A bend at the toe. And don't blink. Look at that ankle pivot. In every which way. I mean, that just looks like Samus broke her foot, but yes, maximum amounts of pivot. Very, very nice. And of course, you're going to get all of that amazingness on the other side as well. I think I covered everything, but dear God, is Samus posable. I feel like everything that's supposed to be posable was made posable, which is honestly a very big deal when it comes to making posable figures. It's like, don't skimp out. Give us a bend at the knee, give us a ball joint at the ankle, give us all the basics. But here, they basically went all out and gave us more than we really did need. Samus biases aside, I'm going to give her a solid star in terms of articulation. Now let's take a look at some pictures. Up first is going to be a size comparison, and Samus is 6.5 inches tall, so standing amongst all these other figures, she is going to have some height, and she is going to look smaller next to a few others, but god dang, does she just look awesome no matter what. The stand does give her a little bit of added height if you actually have her on the base of the stand, but for the most part, Samus is tall to begin with. She's actually one of the taller Figma figures that Figma's ever really made, which is also really cool because Samus in real life is actually kinda really tall and ripped like an Amazonian goddess, which honestly just makes me like her even more because I like tall, muscular women. Yeah, So now we're going to be looking at some pose comparisons here. I actually recreated a couple of poses from the Metroid Prime games just to showcase just how poseable Samus is. You saw the articulation, but this is the next level over here. And I just love that I'm able to recreate so many classic poses from the Prime trilogy. It's like, yeah, if you're that articulated, you better be able to recreate poses. I mean, come on now. From the save stations, from promo arts to endings to a landing pose to a new suit animatic. Figma Samus is just next level articulated, next level poseable, and I am absolutely in love with it. And I went a little bit further with this, and I tried to recreate some of the Metroid amiibo poses with this figure to mostly really good results. Smash Samus, Samus Returns Samus, Zero Suit Samus, Dark Samus. The Ridley pose I feel like I could have done a little bit better, but for the most part, yes, Samus is great when it comes to articulation. She is great when it comes to posability. And she's just great when it comes to being a badass muscle mama space bounty hunter gal. Jumping off that last statement really quick, I just wanted to squeeze a few more shots in here because, well, why not? And I wanted to praise both the stand for being articulate and smooth, but also sturdy enough to keep these wild mid-air poses or somewhat not fully supported poses, but to also praise the figure for being able to stand while posed, if a bit limited, because that's sometimes not much of a combination you see these days. But I'm very happy to see it here with Samus. Samus being so agile and lean, I feel, is just a must for major figures of her. Like, that wholly needs to be full-on communicated if a price is $50 and upwards, because while the cheaper figures are nice to have and kind of just be there, they lack in every single department. Yet, I still would love more mass-produced Samus Aran figures. The morph ball may seem like a cheap throw-in to some, but next to her arm cannon and massive shoulder pads, it's probably her third most recognizable trait. And even if it's just a hollow piece of plastic this time around, I feel it's become more than important enough to be included with nearly every release of a Samus figure. I also wanted to show off two more pose comparisons. They're both from Prime 3 promo shots, and even with my limited ability to fully and 100% capture a shot-for-shot recreation of these poses, I still think they're pretty spot on, which yes, I do feel is important to keep on mentioning. All that articulation can be put to just about any pose, which means, yeah, your money is being well spent here.
And now for my favorite part, paint and detail.
So the first thing I want to start off with is, for those who do not know, this is technically the Mark II/3 version of the Varia suit for Samus in Metroid Prime. The original version of the Varia suit didn't have this little square up here as part of the visor. It was a little bit more smoothened out, and it was a little less angular in the original Metroid Prime. In all honesty, Figma can charge me $25 for just an alternate helmet for this figure, and I'd buy it.
Yes, I'm totally serious about that.
But we're not talking about that helmet, we are talking about this helmet, and look at that beautifully metallic, beautifully detailed, and very, very accurate. Samus's helmet and even her neck over here just look great. I mean, obviously, that's not going to be accurate because that's part of articulation, but god damn does it just look awesome. I especially love that all these little rubber parts in between the major joints are all going to be detailed, even over here near the chest. And yes, you're going to see some painted details in between the grooves of Samus's shoulder pads over here as well. On both sides. My god. And speaking of which, on both sides, look at this paint, man. God, that looks awesome. And the panel lining, too, is just, oh, next level. So next level. Although, unfortunately, as you can see here, movement with the shoulder pads over here can cause some scuffage over here, so definitely be careful when posing about the arms, because as you can see, if it goes in contact like that and you start moving it around, it is going to get a little scratchy. Not so much on the other side, though. Beautiful panel lining and what looks like bolt holes on the chest over here. Equally beautiful metallic green. Lovely what looks like suit muscles. As much as I would love to see more of Samus's abs showing through the suit, I think this is about as close as we will get. You do get a little bit of a butt crack back there, though. More beautiful detailing on the rubber innards of the suit. Same goes for the inside of the thighs. And same goes for these really pointy kneecaps, which is really hurting me, as well as the detailed rubber bits near the kneecaps. Just look at that calf definition. Going to get some light detailing on the feet. Clearly not going to get too much, though. And you are actually going to get some detail on the bottom of Samus's feet. Now, going back to the translucent green screen on the hand and on the rest of the body. This just looks awesome. I love how it catches the light and separates itself from the very metallic paint that the figure is coated in. It just looks so very cool, and if you have Samus posed from like the side like this, it's going to be very, very eye-catching, especially in the right light. Same can be said for the visor too. As much as I really would have loved to have like alternate faceplates over here so you can at least see her eyes when she's angry or when she's at peace or anything like that, this is still very, very effective. The same could be said for the chest lights over here as well, or the headlights, haha, titty joke. Now if Samus had exposed abs, Now to move on to my favorite part of the figure, the arm cannon. The arm cannon is so beautifully painted and so beautifully detailed, even on the inside over here, oh my god, but especially on the bottom side of the arm cannon. This is so lovely looking. It is so perfect looking. I just every time I look at this, I am just so very impressed by it, and I wish this was a detail that was on other Samus Aran figures, especially some of the ones that we'll be looking at a little bit later on during this month. Oh yeah, and this green translucent plastic, it's going to be on both sides of the knees and shins. And on both sides, it's just going to look fantastic. Now, I'm sure you saw that there was more than a few different paint abrasions, both on the feet, on the bottom of the feet, even on the arm over here. I bought this thing used. Bought it secondhand. It's the only way I was able to actually get it for a price that I was willing to pay. Yes, even when it comes to Metroid, I have my standards. But essentially, I think this thing released for $60, $70, maybe $80 at release, maybe even a little bit more than that. I paid 60 plus shipping from Mandarake. And enough of all that hooligander. Despite the semi-flaws that came from being owned by somebody that's not me, I'm going to give both paint and detail 2 solid stars. I mean, look at this thing. Look at how it's catching the light. It's beautiful. It's pretty much one-to-one accurate with how Samus looked in Metroid Prime 3. I really do have no complaints, honestly, and this is great. Just great. Great! Now to go over a few more details before I end this video off. As much as I do love this figure, and as much as it is a 3 out of 3 star perfection, she can be a little bit on the loose side, but not terribly loose. And I have to discuss the whole beam issue. So with other M Samus, you got 2 beam effects. These are lovely little beam effects that I absolutely do use when posing other M Samus, and they are compatible with Prime 3 Samus, but upon trying to put the beam in for the first time, I did ship the paint over there, and that pretty much just stopped me from ever really trying again. Because I honestly think that the peg might actually just be too big for the peg hole. And I really don't want to go about risking chipping any more paint off from the inside, even though that is a very, very minor chip. I wouldn't be posing this figure with the beams anyway. I do think she is amazing, just the way she is. At 35, no less. Yeah, for those who don't know, today is Metroid's 35th anniversary. 35 years of Metroid, and during this very momentous year, we're finally getting Metroid 5. We're getting Metroid Dread, a long-canceled sequel to Metroid Fusion. I'm just so very hyped. It's a beautiful year to be a Metroid fan. If only they actually released another Metroid figure this year. Actually, no, please don't do that. I'm broke enough as it is. I absolutely could not miss another Metroid anniversary without talking about my Metroid stuff. And even though I don't have a lot of Metroid stuff because it really does bounce between overly expensive and so cheap even I don't like it, yikes, I still feel that I need to pay my respects and love to the Metroid franchise this month. So for every Friday following this Friday, we're going to be having a Metroid review coming out on this channel no matter what. Unless it's an extremely important new release, and then I have to delay it by a day or so. But there will be 4 new Metroid reviews put into my Metroid review playlist, which will be linked down in the description below at the end of the video. And we will be celebrating 35 years on this channel, whether you like it or not. Whether you like it or not. Anyway, 3 out of 3 stars. I love this figure. I love its posability. I love the way it looks. Love the way it smells. Smells like a masterpiece, just like Metroid Prime 3, although a little bit easy. Overly easy, I should say. But yes, for the next Metroid review, we will be taking a look at these. The Metroid franchise has its ups and downs. Those things are definitely part of the downward spiral, but I guess it's better than nothing. See you all at the next review, whatever that'll be. Peace out there, everybody, and happy 35 years to Metroid. Thank you, Nintendo. Thank you.